Everything to do with the Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot drama is also not helping at all in the least. In fact, it's only making things worse for the Disney image, for the overall Snow White box office results, and it's another reason why a lot of people avoided this movie, as, of course, apart from many other reasons out there.
Oh honey, let me tell you, the drama swirling around Disney's new Snow White is hotter than a skillet fresh off the stove. You've got Rachel Zegler taking swipes at the old classic, Gal Gadot supposedly storming out with tears in her eyes, and a mountain of rumors that's got Bob Iger tearing out what's left of his hair. Now, if you thought it couldn't get any wilder, think again. Because this story has more twists and turns than a daytime soap, and I'm about to serve up all the steamy details you never saw coming. The very moment Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White, folks got to chattering. Sure, some people were downright giddy to see this fresh face in the iconic role, but others had their eyebrows raised so high, they nearly disappeared into their hairlines. Disney's no stranger to controversy, but the temperature shot up when Rachel started voicing her opinions about the original Snow White. Now, let's be real, that 1937 cartoon may be old-fashioned, but it's also a treasured piece of Disney history. So, when Miss Rachel went on to call the classic dated, a whole crowd of fans just about lost it. Then there was Gal Gadot, our modern-day superheroine turned Disney villain. News broke that she'd be playing the evil queen, and folks nearly fainted from excitement. She's got that regal glow, that commanding presence, and that ability to captivate a camera with just one look. Early on, everyone predicted she might bring serious star power to offset any negativity that Rachel's comments stirred up. After all, who better to portray a villainous queen than a global icon known for her powerful roles? But child, that initial enthusiasm died down faster than day-old gossip. Whispers emerged from supposed insiders, hinting that Rachel and Gal were not always on the best of terms. Then the rumor mill kicked into overdrive with talk of script rewrites, fierce debates about how the story should end, and whether Snow White needed a prince at all. If you scrolled through any social media at the time, you'd think the entire Snow White set was a powder keg ready to blow. Word on the street was that Disney had gone all in on modernizing Snow White for today's audiences. Now, I do love me a bold update, but apparently they switched up so many details that some fans barely recognized their beloved fairy tale. And this wasn't just about making Snow White more independent. It was rumored that the dwarfs were replaced by magical forest pals, the prince might be an outlaw, and the evil queen had a backstory that made her more sympathetic than sinister. Let's just say the purists were wringing their hands, crying, "What is Disney doing?" Rachel Zegler, for her part, didn't hide her feelings about the old Snow White. She said she found it outdated, way too focused on romance, and lacking a real heroine's journey. Some folks praised her for wanting to bring deeper themes into the remake, but others said, "Girl, don't fix what ain't broken." Combine that with Gal Gadot apparently pushing for a more layered evil queen, rather than just a cackling villainess, and you had the makings of a major conflict. Both stars wanted a story that would leave an impact, but in different ways. Behind closed doors, the creative team was reportedly scrambling to accommodate multiple visions at once. Directors might say one thing, producers another, and the lead actresses yet another. They say you can't please everybody, and oh baby, it looked like Disney was learning that the hard way. Fans who wanted a faithful Snow White felt alienated, while those who craved a revamp weren't sure they'd get the bold changes they'd been promised. It was a classic case of trying to be everything to everyone, and pleasing no one in the process. Little did we know, though, that the real fireworks were still to come. If you want to see folks lose their minds, just mention rewriting a beloved story from the ground up. That's exactly what Disney seemed to be doing here. And oh, the internet was not pleased. Rumors ran rampant about entire plot points being cut or replaced. For instance, the dwarfs were rumored to be reimagined in a way that removed all the comedic charm from the original. Then there was talk of the evil queen's motivations shifting from vanity to something more political or even personal. Child, the leaps they were making had folks going, is this Snow White, or is it some brand new invention wearing Snow White's wig? Rachel's comments about the original being weird or problematic had folks yelling blasphemy at their screens. Meanwhile, fans who yearned for a relevant twist argued that it was about time Disney gave Snow White some backbone. Throw Gal Gadot into the mix, passionately advocating for a cunning and multi-dimensional evil queen, and you've got a recipe for drama. Word is, Gal wanted the character to reflect the kind of complexity that modern audiences crave. Less maniacal laughter, more strategic thinking, a dash of heartbreak that turned her wicked. That was the rumor, anyway. But as the scripts changed, so did the on-set atmosphere. Some cast and crew felt these rewrites were steering the movie away from the lighthearted magic that defines Disney classics. Others felt this was exactly what the House of Mouse needed to stay relevant. However, with each new revision, fan backlash seemed to grow. People online started calling it a doomed production, predicting that if Disney tried too hard to modernize, the result would be a lukewarm mess. And let me tell you, those predictions would only get louder with time. Then came the real bombshell that shook Hollywood gossip columns from top to bottom. Reports surfaced that Gal Gadot was abruptly out of the picture. Girl, you can imagine how folks reacted. Shock, disbelief, and plenty of finger-pointing. Some said Disney kicked her to the curb because they didn't want any more drama overshadowing Rachel's portrayal of Snow White. Others whispered that Gal had become too difficult for the studio, demanding more creative control than they were prepared to give. And if you thought conspiracy theories were wild before, this took it up 10 notches. Some social media sleuths started claiming Rachel Zegler deliberately orchestrated Gal's removal, like the new star chasing away the old guard, though there was hardly any proof. Yet, that didn't stop the theories from spreading like wildfire. On the flip side, many folks believe Gal was the innocent party, a scapegoat for Disney's meltdown. If things had gone smoothly, she'd probably still be wearing that crown, glaring into that magic mirror. But we all know smooth was nowhere in Disney's vocabulary at that moment. What really stoked the flames was the conspicuous silence from Disney. They didn't exactly step forward with a clarifying statement. Instead, they delivered bland PR chatter about ongoing creative decisions. That was code for it's chaotic behind the scenes and we're not ready to talk. If their goal was to calm people down, it backfired spectacularly. The fans read between the lines, saw the hush-hush approach, and assumed the worst. Is the evil queen being recast? Are they cutting half the film? Is Snow White even salvageable? Child, the speculation was unreal, and we were only halfway through the tea. Now let's talk about Bob Iger. He's the head honcho at Disney, allegedly a pro at smoothing out controversies, but baby, this fiasco tested every last bit of his patience. With major franchises underperforming at the box office, streaming numbers not exactly sky high, and fans griping about every new move, the last thing Disney needed was more negative headlines. And yet here we are, watching the meltdown unfold in real time. Rumor has it, Bob Iger had a behind-closed-doors explosion that would make a pressure cooker proud. Word on the grapevine says he gathered all the top executives and demanded a solution ASAP. He wanted to know how a single production about one of Disney's most iconic princesses could derail so badly. Some insiders whispered that folks in that meeting were downright terrified, like they'd never seen Iger so heated. That led many to suspect that removing Gal Gadot was part of a grand strategy to contain the drama. As if by firing her, Disney could show the world, look, we're taking steps to fix the problem. But baby, the public ain't that gullible. Making matters worse was the cancelled UK premiere. Officially, they said scheduling conflicts, but you and I both know a cover-up when we see one. The buzz was that Disney couldn't risk any more bad press. They didn't want Rachel or Gal fielding uncomfortable questions about rumored feuds, script chaos, or storyline changes. But attempts at damage control only turned the spotlight brighter on the meltdown itself. Suddenly, everyone was analyzing every press release, every interview snippet, every cryptic tweet. The tension soared, and that flame of speculation burned bigger than ever. Phew, baby, let's talk about the public's reaction. Folks were either furious, heartbroken, or thoroughly entertained by the fiasco. On one hand, you had progressive fans cheering Rachel's determination to reshape Snow White into a modern heroine who doesn't need any man to save her. They found it refreshing, claiming it was high time Disney recognized that little girls today want more than just a meek princess pining for true love. But on the other side, you had legions of Disney loyalists up in arms. They saw Rachel's comments as disrespectful to Walt Disney's original masterpiece. They argued that Snow White's story could be inspiring without massive rewrites or scathing critiques. And the notion that the evil queen might be recast or shoved off to the side after months of hype only stoked their frustration. To them, the entire situation symbolized a larger problem, a once reliable studio messing with treasured classics to chase trends. The media, of course, was living for the drama. Headlines screamed about shock firings, toxic on-set tensions, and Disney's crisis of identity. Some outlets tried to paint Rachel as a forward-thinking hero, while others cast her as a meddling upstart rocking the boat for veteran actors like Gal. Yet others zeroed in on Bob Iger and the leadership fiasco, questioning whether the corporate side of Disney had lost sight of what truly matters, telling stories that delight audiences young and old. In every corner, folks had a take, and the conversation was as fiery as a skillet of sizzling bacon. Which brings us to the biggest question: what in the world happens now? If the rumors about Gal Gadot's exit are true, Disney might be scurrying around trying to plug that evil queen-sized hole in their film. Some believe they've quietly res-hot certain scenes with a stand-in or new actress, possibly relying on CGI to paper over the cracks. Others speculate that they'll cut the queen's role down to a cameo, spinning the final narrative to be 100% centered on Snow White's personal journey. Either way, the meltdown definitely left its mark. Box office analysts are looking at the future with narrowed eyes, suspecting Snow White may suffer from all this negative buzz. Let's be honest, many parents just want an entertaining, family-friendly escape, not a lecture about how the original princess was so outdated. Meanwhile, the fans who did want a big departure from tradition might feel shortchanged if Disney tries to walk things back to calm the purists. It's a lose-lose scenario, and baby, I wouldn't want to be the one pulling the strings behind the curtain right now. As for Rachel Zegler, she's got a legion of supporters praising her for speaking her truth, but she's also dealing with a tidal wave of criticism that might follow her for quite some time. Her involvement has become inseparable from the controversy, and you best believe the press will want answers if and when she shows up for future interviews. Gal, on the other hand, is rumored to be feeling pretty shaken. She'd apparently invested a lot of passion into bringing this new queen to life, only to find herself cast out amid swirling accusations and PR nightmares. Will she stay silent? Or will she drop a bombshell interview that puts Disney on blast? Where does Disney go from here? Some folks think they'll double down, champion this as a bold new reimagining, and hope curiosity alone drives people to theaters. Others say that if the meltdown predictions prove true, the studio might be rethinking how far they can push these remakes. We've seen them do live-action versions of practically every cartoon in the vault, but never with quite this level of behind-the-scenes chaos. Could this fiasco force them to step back, reevaluate, and decide that maybe, just maybe, they shouldn't fix what isn't broken? So, there you have it, boo. The Snow White remake went from a promising fresh take on a Disney classic to a full-blown soap opera of rumored feuds, creative battles, and corporate panic. We've got fans divided like never before, stars supposedly at each other's throats, and Bob Iger banging his fist on the table. If this doesn't make you question whether Disney is losing its touch, I don't know what will. But hey, maybe all the drama will spark curiosity and get folks buying tickets just to see if the final film is truly as messy as the rumors suggest. Or maybe it'll be a cautionary tale about tinkering with cherished fairy tales without a clear game plan. Either way, one thing's for sure, people won't soon forget this meltdown, and you better believe I'll be right here, spilling the tea on what happens next. Thanks for supporting the Gossip Wire. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more of the hottest celebrity news online.